All right, everybody, this is incredible. What a morning we've had of cross-examination and now redirect of this star witness. I want to bring in our fellow host here on the Law&Crime Network, as well as law enforcement expert Vincent Hill. Vincent, my gosh, I don't even know where to start, but I know where you know where I want to start. I want to start with that immunity deal, right? Let's start with this idea. So he gets immunity for everything he's talking about in terms of the killing of Mike Williams, because he was facing life in prison for the armed kidnapping charge. Remember, he was on trial and for kidnapping Denise Williams, the defendant. Could have had life in prison. Takes this immunity deal. There is a possibility, correct me, Vincent, he could walk out of prison one day, a free man, and we all know he is a murderer and killed Mike Williams.
That's right, Jesse. You heard that around 2036, I believe, is when he's eligible to be out. Of course, he'll be on parole, but you're right. He murdered his former best friend, but he could walk for that crime because he was given immunity, which in a murder case, Jesse, is pretty much very, very rare. It's almost unheard of to get immunity for a murder just because you want to lead investigators to a body. Now, you may usually get a reduced sentence, but complete immunity, that's very rare, Jesse.
And let's not forget to tell all of our viewers, it doesn't matter if this provides a successful conviction of Denise Williams or not. She could be found not guilty. He'd still get that immunity deal, which means at the end of the day, there's a possibility no one would be punished for Mike Williams' death.
That's right, and that's very tragic for the family, of course, because right now the defense, you saw that cross-examination, Jesse. You and I were making comments while it was going on. The defense did an excellent job of painting Winchester as this jealous guy. You know, he's having an affair, she's having an affair, but he was mad that she was having an affair. And he painted the picture like, oh, Denise was not with you, right? Well, she was there in my head behind me. So not only is he painting him as some type of jealous guy, maybe he's psychotic as well. Well, she was there in spirit. She was there with me in my mind. So Denise could walk on this because the defense did an excellent job of saying, my client had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I want to touch upon that a little bit, right? So yeah, she was in his head, but she didn't even know that he shot Mike Williams. That wasn't part of the plan.
Right, that wasn't part of the plan at all. So how do you go to she didn't know that her husband was shot to that she conspired to do this and she was behind it? And we heard testimony yesterday from that agent that said there was no tangible or physical evidence linking Denise Williams to this crime. So where do we go from here? Is the jury actually buying this story at this point? If I was a juror right now, I would say, hey, this Winchester guy is just some cold, calculated killer, and that was his plan because he was jealous and he was outraged.
I mean, this guy's rap sheet doesn't look so good, right? We got the armed assault. He was in contact with a hitman who, I don't know if everybody caught this, his name was Wade Wilson, which is Deadpool. So Deadpool actually exists in real life. We learn something new on Law&Crime every day. But the idea is this guy had a violent history, and he was engaged in multiple affairs and doing this and doing that. So he's not a sympathetic guy.
Yeah, he's not sympathetic. I mean, you heard, he kidnapped his then wife, Denise, put a gun to her. He says, well, it really wasn't to her ribs. I just had it at her side. The fact is, he was armed with the gun. He attempted to kidnap his wife. So who do you believe in this situation? She's in her car. He jumps out of the back seat. It's something you would see in a movie. And then he puts a gun to her. He has this sheet. It really wasn't to conceal the body. I just had a sheet. I wasn't going to wrap her in it. But why else would you have a sheet in the car? So was he going to kill Denise on that day too, to, quote unquote, cover up this plot of killing Mike 18 years earlier? Come on, Jesse.
It's crazy that there wouldn't be any justice for Mike Williams. And really the idea here is this all because of love and insurance? Is that what's going on here, Vincent?
You know what, Jesse, I don't know what's going on here. I mean, this thing has so many twists and turns. He's going to strip clubs, and then he's got other women on the side, but yet he's jealous. His dad, according to him, wrote some of the policies for Mike Williams back in the day on the life insurance. There's so many things going on here. It could be about money, but it could be that this guy is just off his rocker.
Listen, I know love is complicated. I don't think this is what we meant by it. And we are learning more details. He's going to come back on the stand. We're going to take a break. Thanks for joining us. We have so much to cover here today in Florida. So stay tuned here on Law and Crime. We'll be right back. You see that little shake of emotion? It gets worse. He starts crying more on the stand. I want to ask the perspective, though, of our guest, fellow face here on Law and Crime, one of our hosts and law enforcement expert, Vincent Hill. Vincent, he got very emotional on the stand. We're going to play you some more of his testimony in a minute. People critiqued this online. They said that this seemed like fake tears. I'm curious your perspective of seeing this emotion that he displayed yesterday on the stand.
Yeah, Jesse, either it's fake tears or it's the guilt that's finally catching up to him. And I mean, at the end of the day, he killed his best friend there, you know. I would almost say they're fake tears, though, because we saw cross-examination earlier today. Those tears were not there. And, you know, he was saying things that, oh, well, she would call from the house phone, her dad and her sister, to make it appear she was home, that she wasn't in on the plan. But keep in mind, Jesse, that's what people would usually do anyway. If someone went missing, they would start calling people. And back in 2000, cell phones were not as prevalent as they are now. Most people still had landlines in 2000, so that probably would have been her normal thing to call from her landline, Jesse.
Yeah, it's a great point. And at the end of the day, all we're asking is, does Denise Williams, did she know about this? Did she plan this? Did she coordinate this with Brian Winchester? Or was it all Brian Winchester? Let's talk about that in a minute. I want to play some more of his testimony of him really getting emotional on the stand from yesterday. Some emotion there on the stand from Brian Winchester, the alleged murderer in this case. Now, I got to talk to you about, we just had an update. You might have heard in opening statements yesterday that Brian, Denise, as well as Kathy Thomas, who was Brian's ex-wife, had engaged in threesomes. Details get stranger and stranger. Well, we just found out that apparently the state wants to show photos right now in court, compromising photos of Denise and Kathy. Okay, Vincent, what is going on as we wait to go back live in that courtroom?
Golly, Jesse, this case gets stranger and stranger as we go along. Apparently, you know, Deadpool's out, you know, doing hits on people. Now we got these strange photos of threesomes with Denise. You know, of course, the state wants to introduce that there because it will show, you know, she may have been involved in it. But I don't even know where to go with this, Jesse, you know. But at the end of the day, there's only one trigger man. So we could have as many photos as we want. We can see them at strip clubs. We can see whatever. We have one trigger man, and he's telling you exactly how he killed his best friend. That's all that matters here, Jesse. Yeah,
look, the details are strange, and some of it, I guess, could be a bit comical, but at the end of the day, we can't forget, we're talking about a man who was murdered, okay, 18 years ago.
Right.
His body was found last year, and the idea is, will there be some sort of justice for him? We know that Brian Winchester will not be held responsible for this. His immunity deal means he cannot be prosecuted for this crime, as long as he tells the truth. There's a possibility Denise Williams would be found not guilty, and nobody would serve any prison time. There would be no punishment for the death of Mike Williams. Now, we're trying to understand how this all came about, and this is a really, really strange series of events. I'm curious, how do you think he did today under cross-examination? And again, we're waiting to go back live in the courtroom, so we might have to cut out, but how do you think he's been doing so far today? Brian Winchester, I mean.
Well, I mean, I think he's pointing all the blame basically on himself. Yeah, he keeps using the word we, and we talked about this, and we talked about this, but the defense kept going back to, well, you shot Mike Williams, right? Denise was not there, and you put him in your Suburban. And he even testified, Jesse, you heard him. There was a large dog crate, and he put his upper part of Mike's body in the dog crate so the blood wouldn't get on his truck. So not only did he kill his best friend, he's trying to conceal evidence in that murder, Jesse.
I got to ask you, you know, we're talking about something so long ago. How is it possible, Vincent, nobody stumbled across Mike Williams' remains in the last 17 years?
You know, I guess it just depends on where they were, Jesse. I mean, it does happen where remains go unfound for many, many years, sometimes decades. So it's not unlikely that that could have happened here. It just depends on where exactly Brian Winchester dumped his best friend's body.
I wonder for the prosecution if it's going to backfire in the idea, okay, we have a guy who's going to come forward, say that he's the murderer. No question, right? But to hear the savage nature upon which he did this, it's not like he threw him off the boat and then shot him with a shotgun at 3 feet
in
range.
the face. That's right.
Face. And so, like, this is not. I'm wondering if it's going to backfire and they're going to put all the blame on him and not put any on Denise. I'm talking about the jury, of course.
I think it could, Jesse, because I go back to yesterday, that the Florida agent who said he had no physical evidence or tangible evidence saying Denise Williams had anything to do with this. Yeah, we can say it's circumstantial stuff like the life insurance policy and the affair and everything else, but the physical evidence and even the testimony of the killer says, I did it, I shot him in the head, and then I dumped his body.
Okay, Vincent, stand by. We're going to jump back into the courtroom right now. Let's go live. What we're learning right now is that a series of photos will be admitted. Now, I'm back here with Vincent. Vincent, we're getting an understanding that it might be Brian Winchester in a chair taking pictures of his wife at the time in a compromising position with Denise Williams, the defendant. Now, is the idea here that, hey, this affair was out in the open? There was no reason for him to kill Mike Williams. Everybody knew what was going on. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, I mean, that could very well be it, Jesse. I mean, I think we're all questioning what's the relevance of these photos here at this point. I guess we'll learn that as it goes along. But, you know, what's that old saying? You know, an adulterer does not make a murderer. So, you know, if they're saying Denise is in these photos, you know, maybe to say she was taking part in this, I don't know. But I guess we'll have to figure that out as it goes along, Jesse.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking that might be what the defense argues, but I think the state actually wants it. So maybe they're just saying she was more of an active participant in this whole scheme than the defense is letting on. We know the jury is being called in. For everybody joining us, that is Brian Winchester. He's been on the stand for the past 2 days. He is the alleged trigger man, the person who killed Mike Williams. Let's go back live. We're going to learn more details. Okay, so what he's basically describing are these strange series of photos of Kathy, his ex-wife, and Denise in a compromising position. They took trips all across, you know, Panama City. They went to Orlando, because these are definitely the kind of people you want in Disney World. And what we're learning is more details of their relationship and Denise's involvement. And we know that these photos were taken before and after Mike's death. Maybe I can get one question in from Vincent. Vincent, I hope you're still with us. Vincent, what do you make of what we're learning here?
You know what, Jesse, it's mind-boggling. And keep in mind, if this was before Mike's death, you know, we talked about how old this case is. These were actually, it's important for viewers to understand, these were actually photos that you would take on a camera. So this just tells you the type of people you're dealing with, which means they had to go get those developed, because back in 99, 2000, the cell phone camera, if you will, was not even around yet. So these are the types of people that we're dealing with here, Jesse. They took these pictures, they actually took them somewhere to get developed, so it just tells you their mindset.
What a job it was for the guy who had to develop these photos. My gosh.
That's right.
All right, I think let's take a break. Yeah, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be live in the courtroom. You don't want to miss anything, so stay tuned here on Law and Crime. Love letters, sexy photos, Vincent Hill. What do you think about what's going on here?
Man, there's a reason I stay single, Jesse. I mean, all this stuff can come back to bite you. But listen, that letter was from Denise in this case, apparently, to Brian Winchester there. So maybe it's showing that, yeah, she maybe couldn't have gone on without him. You know, she was going to miss him over Christmas. So maybe now the jury's starting to think maybe she did have something to do with this plot here to get rid of her husband when he was killed during a duck hunting accident. You heard that before, right?
No, I haven't. But you know what? There's a first time for everything. Here's the question that I have for you, Vincent. Right. So even before today, what was in your mind the strongest piece of evidence that we've heard or maybe seen against Denise Williams? Was it the timing of when she wanted to declare the death of Mike Williams? Was it the insurance policy payout? Was there a comment that she made? We kind of heard a little bit about that, about trying to make sure that Brian knew that she didn't talk to the police. I mean, in your opinion, what's the strongest piece of evidence so far that she knew and coordinated and planned the plot, the death of her husband?
Honestly, Jesse, I don't see any evidence. I mean, we can talk about all that stuff, but again, that stuff's circumstantial. I didn't see any text messages or any emails that said, "Oh, is it done? Oh, it's complete now," or anything like that. So until we have something like that, Jesse, everything else is circumstantial speculation. A lot of this is coming from the testimony of the guy who pulled the trigger. So right now, I still say that the state has nothing really on Denise Williams.
What about the insurance payout? Over $1.7 million she received when Mike Williams died, and these insurance policies were created by Brian Winchester months before Mike got killed?
Now, granted, Jesse, that does look bad, but spouses have insurance policies on their spouse, especially when your spouse is making over $800,000 that has been reported that Mike Williams was making. You're used to a certain lifestyle, so of course you're going to have $1 million policy so you can continue with that lifestyle. You wouldn't have a $20,000 policy or a $50,000 policy if your spouse is making almost $1 million. You're going to have something that would match that so you can actually keep that lifestyle.
Okay, that's one part. What about the idea that Denise allegedly asked to relay a message to Brian via his father Marcus that the defendant wanted to tell Brian that she never spoke to investigators? Why would she say that?
Well, I mean, that you definitely have to question that. I mean, but it could be that she's just letting him know, like, hey, I didn't talk to them, so he wouldn't get mad at her. Look at what he did. He ended up kidnapping her because he thought she was going to snitch. Maybe she knew what type of individual she was dealing with. So she said, hey, let him know I didn't say anything to the police because she was in fear of her own life. I mean, that's how the defense could definitely paint that, Jesse.
It should be noted that the prosecutor mentioned this in the opening statement. He said that Kathy, again, Brian Winchester's ex-wife, agreed to record a conversation with Denise. And according to the prosecutor, she said she confronted Williams about that statement she made in 2000. And the defendant confirmed that, yes, she did in fact say this. The prosecutor said, again, why make that statement unless her and Brian Winchester were involved in this all along?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something you have to ask. Why make that statement if she wasn't involved? But, does it prove that she knew what was going to happen on that day? No, it doesn't. Could there have been talks that, hey, we need Mike out of the way? Absolutely, it does. But just that recording in itself, without any physical evidence to go along with it, any substantial evidence to say, yes, she actually plotted this murder, I still think you have that uphill battle to prove her involvement in this case.
What's so shocking as we look at Brian Winchester, the live feed, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. We would still not know what happened to Mike Williams. He's the one who told authorities where the body was.
Yeah, that's right. It goes back to the whole thing. It was him, right? He knew exactly where the body was. Even 17 years later, he knew exactly where he had put him. He talked about how he shot Mike Williams. He talked about how he was trying to swim out of the lake there. He actually talked about how he reacted when he chambered around in the shotgun, which is a very distinguishable noise when you rack that round in the shotgun. So everything really centers around Brian Winchester and his killing of Mike Williams. And again, I think there's an uphill battle here to prove that she conspired or she knew anything about it. Yes, we can talk about the recordings. We can talk about these pictures that have been introduced, but you still have a lot more to prove to say that Denise Williams had anything to do with it.
One of the things we keep talking about is his immunity deal, right? So again, he will not be charged in connection with Mike Williams' death. If she's not found guilty of the charges, then she goes free. In other words, nobody would serve any time, any punishment for Mike Williams' death. If that turns out to be the case, do you think the state is going to look back and say we made an error, we made a horrible mistake here?
Yeah, I think so. And there's one person that it's going to affect the most, and that would be Mike Williams' mother, right? For many, many years, when people were speculating that he was eaten by alligators, and she was the one person saying, no, this is not true, something is not right. And it was her diligence that actually got investigators to look into this case, Jesse. So if Denise is found not guilty, I really, really feel for the mother of Mike Williams. It's
tragic. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Mike Williams, who was married to Denise, best friends with this guy, and then they just both, I mean, well, clearly he betrayed him. The question is, did Denise do as well? I mean, we know that she was having an affair, but that would be, we're talking about a very different kind of betrayal. Is it so improbable, though, that this man, you know, for so many years, that was the belief that he just drowned in that area? Do you know about that area, this swampy area with the alligators? Was that even a possibility that that might happen?
Well, it's a possibility. Listen, my parents are from Tallahassee. I still have a lot of family in Tallahassee. There's a lot of water, there's a lot of alligators around that area where this duck accident happened.
Vincent, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we have to jump back into the courtroom. Stand by. So, Vincent, he's being asked there, could he have received any benefit from the life insurance proceeds? Again, these are jury questions that are being asked of him right now.
Yeah, you know, that's, of course, what the jury wants to know. Like, what was your gain in killing your best friend? Was there a financial motive behind this? We know that he was involved in writing these insurance policies. So, of course, we knew that was going to be one of the questions that the jury wanted to know. What was your gain in this murder? Yep,
we're all still trying to figure everything out. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be live in the courtroom. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So, to give you an update about what's happening, Brian Winchester has just been dismissed from the courtroom. The questioning has ceased. The last conversation that we had was when the jury asked him a question about, did he receive a benefit from the life insurance proceeds? What really we learned was that Denise Williams was the primary beneficiary, but he said there would be a secondhand benefit from being with her, that it would almost be like a bonus to him. Back here with Vincent Hill, I was curious what you thought of that, because clearly the jury wants to know what the incentive is here. But we also learned this guy, Brian Winchester, wasn't the only man in Denise Williams' life, right, Vincent?
Yeah, that's right. And what the viewers didn't hear, Jesse, during the break, you know, one of the other questions the juror imposed was the money the incentive for the plot? So everybody wants to know, was he doing this from a financial standpoint, or was there more to it that he wanted Mike out of the way? There's a lot going on here, but the jury definitely wanted to know, Jesse, was that the incentive? That was the question from one of the jurors. Was the money the incentive for this plot?
He said it was the icing on the cake in a way.
The icing on the cake.
This is what I don't understand. So let's say she had nothing to do with this. Let's say she didn't know any which way that he was going to kill Mike Williams. Why would he do this?
Right.
Why would he do this? Really, why would he kill his best friend if the money wasn't an issue? If it seemed to be out in the open that he was having an affair, especially if his wife knew, why would he do it?
I mean, maybe he wanted his best friend out of the way so he could have his cake and eat it too, if you will. I mean, you know, he's seeing Denise, he's seeing this other woman, so maybe he wanted to eliminate the competition from, so he could be the only guy in Denise's life, even though he admitted he was still seeing other people. He talked about how he was upset that Denise was seeing other people, so maybe you could argue to say he wanted to be the only guy in Denise Williams' life.
Could be. Could be. We're also trying to understand what to believe of him and what maybe we shouldn't believe of him. And that brings us to today. At the very beginning of our program, Brian Winchester was on the stand. He was under cross-examination by the defense. And the first thing they asked him was about his immunity deal. Remember, he was arrested and sentenced in relation to the armed kidnapping of Denise Williams. He was ultimately sentenced to 20 years. Could have gotten life in prison, but because he took that immunity deal to talk about what happened with Mike Williams, that was it. No life in prison. That was taken off the table. Let's see when the defense attorney really grilled him about that. Take a look. Okay, so that was a friend of Brian Winchester talking about when he planned to kidnap, an armed kidnapping of Denise Williams. Now, Vincent, that's just an everyday story, right? That's what common people do. You engage in a kidnapping of your wife. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I want to talk to an ex, I just go kidnap them. Here's the thing, though. I don't think this friend would have any reason to take the stand if what he said was not true, Jesse. But, it troubles me that Brian says, I had to kidnap her so she would talk to me. There's this thing called email. There's this thing called text message. There's a lot of ways you can communicate with someone without having to go in their car, put water on the window so they can't see you, and put a gun to your ribs. Well, even though he said he didn't put it to her ribs. But there's so many other ways he could have communicated with Denise other than doing what he did.
Well, this is just another line of history of him making terrible decisions.
Yeah.
Again, so the idea here, though, is he was on the stand for the last day, provided a lot of information. Is this the opportunity where the prosecution puts forward witnesses to corroborate his story?
Yeah, it could be, and I think that's where they're going here. Again, I still think there's an uphill battle, and here's another thing we're not looking at. Maybe Denise back in 2000 was not aware of what Brian Winchester did, and maybe during the course of their marriage, because we know they were married 5 years after, she started to speculate things were going on, and then maybe that's when he got worried that she would go to the police, and he concocted this whole kidnapping plan.
You know what I don't understand? If he was willing to kill for her, why was he cheating on her? Why was she cheating on him? Why did he want to get back together with his wife? Something just doesn't make sense here. I mean, a lot doesn't make sense, but can you explain this?
Yeah, a lot doesn't make sense, but I think it just goes back to who we're dealing with. Brian Winchester, he's a psychopath. He's a narcissist. He's after Brian, right? That's all he cares about. So, yeah, I want this, but I want that. I want my wife, but I want Denise. I don't want Denise to see other men, but I want to be able to see other women. It's all about Brian Winchester, and I think the jury is seeing that right now because the defense did a great job of painting that picture during their cross-examination.
Vincent, we got to talk about the religious aspect of this. How I don't know if you caught this, but what we kept hearing was there was a religious motivation, or even when he had killed Mike Williams and he said he spoke to Denise, they said that God would forgive them and that this was okay for them not to confess. I mean, what did you make of that? And then how religion played a role in him wanting to go back to his wife, Kathy.
Yeah, the whole thing is weird. So it's okay to murder, but not divorce. Now, I know the Bible talks about both. I know a little bit about the Bible. So you take the lesser of two evils. Like, I don't get the logic there, Jesse. It's okay to kill him. It's just not okay to divorce him. So maybe they're reading the Old Testament of the Bible, and maybe that's the logic they came up with there.
Yeah, this is not a menu. You don't pick and choose which parts you want. I guess
That's
my
right.
question to you, and Vincent, I know our time together is coming to an end. What can you tell our viewers to expect as we continue on with testimony today?
I can just say, Jesse, there's probably going to be a lot of bombshells. We saw pictures. Pictures got admitted of, Kathy and Denise and Brian to this. I think the viewers are in for a treat in this trial. You and I were talking during the break. This is one of the most interesting trials we've had in quite a while with everything that's going on. There's so many twists and turns to this trial. People don't want to miss it.
Vincent, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and especially, coming on in such an incredible morning with the testimony of Brian Winchester.
That's right, Jesse. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Make sure to come back here and host soon, which Vincent will be doing. We are going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to be live in the courtroom. We have a feed and new witnesses on the stand. This has been an exciting 2 days of testimony here in this trial, and if you're just joining us, this is a trial filled with a lot of different twists and turns about a woman who is facing charges related to the plotting of the murder of her husband, Mike Williams, 18 years ago. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned here on Law&Crime.